Welcome to another edition of the Committed 100 Ministry Group, where we are 100% committed to teaching the Bible to those who are 100% committed to learn. And we're going to continue today in our verse by verse study of the 119th Psalm. Wonderful Psalm. There might be someone who is asking what happens when we finish the 119th Psalm. We'll probably go to Psalm 73, one of my favorite Psalms, a Psalm that rarely ever is preached at all. Just a phenomenal Psalm. And trust me when I tell you, it's quite relevant in our age today. Well, today, 42 years ago, God blessed me with a wonderful, wonderful woman, a wonderful wife, mother, lover, friend, counselor, um, conscience, everything. And that is DeWanda, my wonderful wife. After all these years, the years just go by so quickly. We just like, what? That long? Wow, it's just amazing. But it would have been quite a boring life without her, that's for sure. And she's flying back from Michigan today to attending a funeral of her brother's wife who passed, Sylvia. And I tell you, this house is empty and I hate it. I hate it. I hate every second of an empty house. And people have asked me throughout the years, yeah, when your wife is gone, do you live like a bachelor? First of all, that's a stupid question. Even if you're joking, that's a stupid question. Um, I hate being in an empty house. I like the noise. I like her around. It's just not a home without the missus. So I miss her dearly, and I'm glad she's coming back to California the day of this broadcast today. I just I'm hooked. I'm glued to her. We're one, and she's an amazing woman. Let me tell you, an amazing woman. I'm thankful that God put her into my life. Um, like I said, life would be quite boring without her. Psalm 119, verse 145 and 146. I cried with my whole heart, hear me, O Lord, I will keep thy statutes. I cried unto thee, save me, and I shall keep thy testimonies. Now, in verse 146, although both verses, the conclusions are the same, keeping the word of God. In verse 145, he said that he would keep God's statutes, he would guard them. And in verse 146, although the psalmist used a different Hebrew word, the definition is quite similar. And there are some subtle distinctions, but I do not think that the basic overall meanings are that different. The word keep in verse 145, for example, is used in the King James Bible 62 times, while the word keep in verse 146 is used 469 times. But the basic meaning of both the words is the same, and really the only difference that I could conclude is that the word in verse 146 contains more of a religious overtone, such as keep the observance of the law, etc., keep the Passover, things of this nature, keep the Day of Atonement. So the use of the word keep in verse 145 is not really used in that fashion, but in spite of that distinction, the basic meaning is the same. And let's move to, excuse me, verses 105 and 106. Obviously, we have taught that some time ago. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. I have sworn, and I will perform it, that I will keep thy righteous judgments. Now, clearly, we are to observe and to guard and to protect and to keep the word of God. We are to do all that we can to do it. Frankly, it's the most important thing that we should be doing every day. It is not to be done as some chore or something that we observe externally. And that's what happened with Israel. They got bored with it. And that's what is stated in the book of Malachi. Like I said, it's not to be done as some chore or something that we observe externally, as if to say that we do it, but we really don't want to do it. Again, if you want to see that attitude in living color, all you need to do is go to the book of Malachi and look at how the priests and those who serve in the temple found the whole thing to be a wearisome bore. No, we don't want that kind of attitude. To guard and protect the word, if it's done correctly, will be done from the heart and from the soul of a man or woman, and any other attempt would be futile. It was brought to my attention in one of my racquetball sessions some time ago that one seasoned player made this insightful observation about me, that when I play a lousy game, it looks like I'm trying too hard to do and to play and thinking too hard on the fundamentals rather than just playing naturally. And I like that comment. What he was basically saying is you're focusing so much on trying to correct issues as opposed to just naturally play. The flow is there, but if you're stuck on this and that and the fundamentals and not just enjoy and invest yourself into the playing, not only will you not enjoy it, you won't be able to do it at all. And he made a good point. He went on to say that um, I play like it's natural for me, and then I win. Yeah, so you focus on just playing the game. Your losses are helping you to be better. Okay. And it should be natural by now for me to play smoothly because I'm familiar with the game enough where I don't have to play as if I don't know how. And that's what happened after a number of months. I probably say the end of year one of my 5 years of playing racquetball, it just became natural. I go in the court, just wear people out, and they wear me out, whether it was outside or inside. It just became a part of who I was. I was a racquetball player. You asked me, could I do it today? Probably not, but I might have been able or might be able to enjoy a little recreational racquetball, but it's been some time. Now, the game is already a part of me. That's the point. So he wasn't knocking the fundamentals of the game. And his point was that I should play better because I know how to play already. And I don't need to go over the fundamentals as if I didn't know what they were or that they were unfamiliar to me. And the point of all of this is the same goes for the truth. Now, we shouldn't act as if we're looking at the truth as if we're not familiar with it. We shouldn't have to be reminded to keep going to God. We shouldn't be reminded to have to keep going to his word as if it isn't already natural for believers to do it. We should be doing this. It should be natural. It should be natural for us to do so, and therefore we should be growing more and more upon what we already are familiar with. it should be natural for us as believers to keep the Word of God very close to our hearts and to keep out any and everything that would encroach upon our hearts to destroy the Word, which we should be protecting. And the everything also means people. Some people have to be, well, hate to say it, but they have to be removed as a hindrance because some people are a hindrance. And I think it's foolish for us to think that could not be true. It's most definitely true. The writer of Hebrews says something very interesting, and we actually dealt with this, I believe, yesterday in our study in the Proverbs. The writer of Hebrews says in chapter 5, verse 12, for when for the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God, and are become such as have need of milk and not strong meat. For everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. So the proper handling of the word of righteousness requires individual and focused skill and training. This is going to be a very important point that I think needs to be made, especially in our so-called religious or church culture, because we make the mistake of actually believing that because we are in proximity to truth, that we can hear truth, that we can agree with truth, that we can agree with all the fundamentals of the faith, that this shows maturity. No, it does not. The only thing it shows is that you can listen. How that is digested as a part of our life has yet to be determined, because there are plenty of people that know facts, yet their lives aren't affected. Another so-called Christian leader, well-known, whatever, in the ranks, he should have never been elected in the first place, which is clear by the foolish letter that came from this group of people. They knew his propensity for homosexuality, and yet they elected him anyway. And true to form, he committed again, and now the letter they put out was more of an embarrassment. And I told you folks this, you can get offended if you want, don't care. White folk in particular, white evangelicals so-called, are notorious for creating these false doctrines of putting these men back in ministry. I've said it before, I'm going to keep saying it. Black folk have been doing it forever. That's nothing new there. But these white evangelicals are doing this stuff, and frankly, it's disgusting. They're the ones with all this alleged knowledge, and this guy was an apologist. He was writing this. He was in charge of that group, and they knew it already. They knew the guy was damaged goods, but they put him in a position he was not qualified for. They admitted in the letter that, well, although he committed this before his whatever, uh, that we don't think that what he was doing was worthy of disqualification. It is exactly what he was doing is worthy of disqualification because he wasn't blameless. And now you put that man there, and the whole ministry is tainted, the whole church is tainted, and his association with various groups, they just removed all his content. Again, we have to stop this notion that being in proximity to truth is sufficient. It is not. It never has been. Never has been. Again, the proper handling of the word of righteousness requires individual and focused skill and training. You just cannot get to this place by listening to sermons, analyzing the word of God in our heads. And this necessity of use cannot be achieved by being in proximity to it or by having all of the books and software available at our disposal. It cannot come by years of college and seminary or by being in a Bible teaching church or through solid Bible teachers. These things, listen, the maturity factor cannot be accomplished by those things. And I think a lot of people are deluded to believe that if I'm in the proximity of this, I got my degree, I got all this stuff, that I'm ready. No, you are not ready. And I know that people don't want to hear it. And frankly, they should be listening, because I think the evidence surrounds us that there are a lot of people that sit in proximity to tons of truth and are not growing 1 inch. Why? Because they never apply themselves to what they're learning. He says solid food belongs to the mature, to the spiritual adult who by habit, practice, or custom have their minds able to use perception, understanding, and sound judgment. You see, unless that word is actually put in our lives into practice, we don't know how to discern anything. First of all, what we need to be doing is growing towards maturity, because those who just rely on milk, they're just babies. They don't have any discernment. They don't have the ability. We oftentimes, and rightfully so, tell people they need to grow up to maturity. You need to stop being a big old slobbering toddler and grow up. Stop tolerating. I'm not talking about new converts. Don't tolerate people that have been around the church so-called forever, just a bunch of stinking, pooping toddlers. And they don't want to listen. They don't want to learn. They don't want to do anything. And we have so-called churches filled with people who are not mature. They're not growing at all, not to any degree. And instead of doing what this writer did in Hebrews, he really laid it on them. He's basically telling them, you don't have any excuse. When we get into our study in Hebrews, beginning this coming Sunday, we're going to see that. There's no excuse for that. We have too many people that are sitting in pews, and that's all they do. They're great pew sitters. That's what they do. But the mind of the mature are the only ones, according to what this writer says in Hebrews, they are the only ones who are able, because of practice and use, are trained to discern. No one else can. Babies can't. We want to keep people in the baby stage. No, we need to get them mature. And the only way that's going to happen is through sound exposition and the exercise of everybody exercising their spiritual gift. There's no other way to do it. Now, their minds are exercised by truth. Their thinking faculties are trained as a person trains in the gymnasium, and they are trained to judge, to discriminate between what is good and what is evil, and choose the good. And this is the mind of a Christian. The mind who has come all the way up to Christ. It is the mind that is constantly in practice of using the word of God to discriminate between that which is good and evil. And again, the only ones that can do that are the believers. And the only believers that can do that are the mature. I tell you, friends, we have got to stop having and being settled with the playpen full of people that don't want to grow. This is ridiculous. Listen, a lot of people making professions of faith in the 50 years plus I've been a Christian are no more Christian than my empty cup of coffee over here. This is ridiculous. No one's growing. Nobody is. I'm telling you right now, it should be terrifying that in most professed churches, no one's growing. You could sit with the person in 2026, the day of the year this is being recorded, and come back at 2030, God willing, and they'll be the same person. No growth, nothing spiritual about them. And they can be sitting in the midst of tons of truth, but not growing. That's a choice. That's a choice. That's the decision we make. We make not to grow. We have everything we need. There is nothing that's lacking. There is absolutely nothing that is lacking in the life of the worshiper of God. We already have everything we need. We waste time praying that God would give us things He's already given us. We're not even listening to ourselves. People who are immature and not growing, people who are babies, people who don't want to and cannot accept the meat for whatever reason. They are unskillful in the word. They don't know what they're talking about. And yet they have platforms all over the place, not just on social media, but also in churches. Babies getting up and making testimonies about things that isn't possibly true. We tolerate that stuff. So the focus on the word, which would give everyone discernment, is ignored. I believe today, after all these years of dealing with professing Christians in churches, that the high majority of people have zero discernment about anything. It's an indictment on the fact that they can sit and listen to mountains full of truth and yet do nothing with it other than hear it. They are just spectators coming and sitting and auditing whatever it is that they think they're doing. And if they like what they hear, they get all happy. But if they don't like what they hear, they get quiet because they know they're not doing the things that the word commands us all to do. It's simple. There's nothing complicated about it. Nothing at all. It's just sad we have to see this. But in most cases, we have created this monster. And it's really time for us to put that monster out the house. All right, that's it for today. Thank you, Sister Sheffy, about your praise to our 42nd anniversary again with my wonderful partner, wife, lover, friend, counselor, conscience, DeWanda Howard. Love that crazy woman. She loves a crazy husband too. God gives you the right person. He does. And I told her hundreds of times, there's nobody else. There can't be. Yeah, this, no, you are and have been and will be the only one. There's nobody else. God gave me exactly who I needed, as He always does with everything. Those who are listening on Absolute Truth Radio, or if you're not listening on Absolute Truth Radio, you can write me at Harley Howard Radio. That's one word, Harley Howard Radio at gmail.com. All right, that's it for today. Next time, I believe we'll be in the book of Acts.